stream these 5 defenses in week 2. Number 1 on the list is the Los Angeles Chargers. You know it's a bad omen when your first pass of the season is an interception. And that's exactly where we're at with Bryce Young and the Carolina Panthers. Despite bringing in Deontay Johnson and drafting Xavier Legette and Jonathan Brooks, this looks like the exact same team as last year. Bryce Young still seems undersized and outmatched, and he completed a mere 13 of 30 passes last week. And he also took 4 sacks, tied for the 3rd most. And this is an issue going back to last year when he took the 2nd most sacks in the league. I think it wouldn't be surprising to see him finish near the top again. And at this point, any defense going up against the Panthers is stream-worthy. They made the Saints look like the 85 Bears last week. I'm expecting Joey Bosa and Khalil Mack to lead the charge and to open things up for Derwin James and Asante Samuel Jr. on the back end. And I wouldn't be surprised to see this team have another strong performance. They're coming off of a game where they only allowed 10 points to the Raiders. They had 4 sacks, an interception, and 2 fumble recoveries. If you're looking for a defense to stream, I would fire them up this week and feel good about it. Number 2 on the list is Indianapolis Colts. Jordan Love was slated to miss at least 3 to 6 weeks initially, but there are now reports coming out saying that he might come back sooner. Some were even saying possibly this week, but I highly doubt that. The Packers have already come out and named Malik Willis the starter, and if that is the case, then I think the Colts should have a field day. In the limited sample size we have of him playing, which is around 8 games, he's taken 15 sacks, thrown 3 interceptions, and fumbled 4 times, losing 3 of them, which bodes very well for the Colts. I expect the Packers to use a run-heavy script, but if things get out of hand, they may be forced to pass the ball. At this point, they can't afford to go 0-2 in a division where everyone is 1-0. It's very likely Willis's number gets called more than he'd like, and if that's the case, he's bound to make some errors. Number 3 on the list is the Jacksonville Jaguars. Unfortunately for Browns fans, Joe Flacco is not coming to save the day. And I think as long as Deshaun Watson is starting and Nick Chubb is out of the lineup, this offense should continue to struggle. Just last week alone, Watson threw 2 interceptions and took a league-leading 6 sacks. And if you go back and look at previous seasons, Watson's actually been in the top 5 3 times in terms of sacks taken per game. And in 2 other seasons, he's been in the top 15. Watson just doesn't look right physically or mentally, and behind a pretty banged up O-line, I think the Jacksonville Jaguars athletic front is going to feast. With how financially tied the Browns are to Watson, I'm expecting him to start for the foreseeable future, and if that's the case, I would take a chance on any defense he plays. The productive days in Houston seem further and further away, and I think Watson is just not the quarterback that he once was. I think Jacksonville comes out this week with a chip on their shoulder because they let last week slip away, and they should come out firing. Number 4 on the list is the Washington Commanders. The Commanders get the Giants this week, which means they get Daniel Jones, who last week proved that he is still the same Daniel Jones that we've seen over the last few years. He did not throw a touchdown, he threw 2 interceptions, one of which was taken back to the house, and he took 5 sacks, the 2nd most in the league. He doesn't have Saquon Barkley anymore to mask his mistakes, and Devin Singletary is not the player that Saquon is. So I think they're going to continue to struggle. I think he will play a little bit better than he did last week, but not by much. The Giants still have one of the worst offensive lines in the league, and I'm expecting Dan Quinn to take advantage of that and dial up a bunch of pressures. And I think at this point it's fair to say that we're all on Drew Lock watch in the Big Apple. I think if Daniel Jones struggles early on, Lock could be inserted into the lineup. And if that happens, that may benefit Washington even more. Number 5 on the list is the Seattle Seahawks. I think the Patriots benefited from a number of things last week. The Bengals are currently in a disarray. Last week, T. Higgins was a late inactive. Jamar Chase had food poisoning, so he wasn't his usual self. And this team was able to just rely on Ramondre Stevenson and their defense, which played surprisingly well. I think they're in for a much tougher battle this week against Mike McDonald's defense, who should definitely provide a bigger test. Jacoby Brissett is pretty much going to be a game manager for however long he starts. He only attempted 24 passes last week, and he's a bit banged up. If he gets asked to do more, he's bound to make some mistakes. And Seattle should take advantage. They're coming off of a solid game where they had 2 sacks, 2 picks, and a fumble recovery. The Patriots only managed to put up 16 points last week, and the only reason they could stick to the run is because the Bengals only scored 10. I expect the Seahawks to force them into some tough situations and use a more balanced game script, which should bode well for their defense. Those are 5 defenses to consider streaming. Thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe and let me know which defenses you think we should stream in the comments below.